Hello and welcome to Last Week in AWS. I'm Corey Quinn. Let's see what AWS has for us over the last week.
This episode is sponsored in part by my day job, the Duck Bill Group. Do you have a horrifying AWS bill? That can mean a lot of things. Predicting what it's going to be, determining what it should be, negotiating your next long-term contract with AWS, or just figuring out why it increasingly resembles a phone number, but nobody seems to quite know why that is. To learn more, visit duckbillgroup.com. Remember, you can't duck the duck bill. And my CEO informs me that is absolutely not our slogan.
AWS Code Pipeline introduces new debugging experience in AWS Management Console. And it's odd, because half the time I feel like AWS wants us the hell out of the console using infrastructure as code, and the other half the time they're trying to get us in there for as many things as possible. The takeaway, of course, is that whatever we're doing it wrong. The AWS Management Console now supports simultaneous sign-in for multiple AWS accounts. Holy crap, this solves a problem experienced by approximately everyone for approximately the entire lifespan of AWS. I'm calling it now. This is 2025's Release of the Year. 2024's was the Savings Plan Analyzer, and it wasn't a particularly close decision because that thing's amazing. EC2 Image Builder simplifies converting Windows ISO files to AMIs. This would have been useful for creating AMIs a while back. I'm glad I don't have these specific workload concerns anymore, but man, is this nice for customers who aren't on that same track. Now open AWS Mexico Central Region. Last week, there was one new region for 2025. This week, there are two new regions in 2025. If this trend continues, we'll have a region for every living human before Christmas. AWS CDK is splitting Construct Library and CLI, which is fascinating. I wonder what drove the decision and what it's going to mean for those static AWS CDK workloads that haven't been touched in years the next time that they need an update. That does remain the CDK's Achilles heel in my experience.
Here at the Duck Bill Group, one of the things we do with, my day job is we help negotiate AWS contracts. We just recently crossed $5 billion of contract value negotiated. It solves for fun problems, such as how do you know that your contract that you have with AWS is the best deal you can get? How do you know you're not leaving money on the table? How do you know that you're not doing what I do on this podcast and on Twitter constantly and sticking your foot in your mouth? To learn more, come chat at duckbillgroup.com. Optionally, I will also do podcast voice when we talk about it. Again, that's duckbillgroup.com.
Amazon Bedrock launches with Claude 3.5 Sonnet in the AWS Top Secret Cloud, and it would appear that somebody leaked. In seriousness, the Top Secret Cloud is accredited to run top secret workloads, but what are the requirements to deploy workloads there? Is it like GovCloud in that if you ask, you can deploy? Or is it a full-bore background check with clearances required and blood oaths? I'm asking for truly idle curiosity, but if you know, please reach out and tell me. I'm curious. Preventing unintended encryption of Amazon S3 objects. Encrypt everything. No, wait, not like that, says AWS, in the wake of S3 objects being encrypted using native S3 functionality via ransomware, which is frankly an ingenious attack vector. Evil, but genius. Secure root user access for member accounts in AWS organizations. I missed this during the pre-event frenzy late last year, but you can now flat out remove root credentials for organization member accounts via API. This is a big deal, and I highly recommend you do this. And finally, cost-optimized log aggregation and archival in Amazon S3 using S3 tar. I don't think I've encountered S3 tar before, and now I'm actively annoyed because it would have solved a couple of problems for me in way less time, way more elegantly than the Rube Goldberg monstrosities I cobbled together instead. How long has this been hiding there? And that's what happened last week in AWS.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.